This brand new Longsword build for Title Update 2 gives the player continuous attack boosts every single time you counter the monster. It's an incredibly rewarding playstyle, and the better you are, the better the build becomes. In this video I will explain every single thing you need in order to craft the build, every single decoration, the key things you need to know, and I'll even show the build in action. Make sure to watch the full thing so you understand how the build works. If you don't understand the build, it's going to feel weaker, so I would truly recommend hearing me out on this. With that being said, let's get into it. Alright, it's been a little while, I'm a little sick as well, but that's fine. So I've been messing around a bit up in testing, and this is ultimately what I've landed on. So let me first walk you through the base skills on each armor piece, and then I'll talk a bit about the set bonuses as well as the decorations you're going to want to run. The Lagiacrus helm is incredibly good. It has a 3-slot and a 2-slot and a 1-slot. And base, it has maximum might level 2, which is straight up just 20% crit chance right out the gate. Very nice. Then we use the Seregios chest in beta. We get Evade Window 2 as well as Agitator 1. Nothing particularly crazy, and as you'll see the slottage as well isn't anything special, but we do need this for the 2-piece bonus, which I'll explain in a little bit. The arms on the other hand are incredibly powerful with Adrenaline Rush level 2. This is incredibly important, you'll find out why in a bit. And furthermore, it of course has a 3-slot built in, can never complain at that. And to wrap up the set, we then use the Gormagala Waist and the Gormagala Greaves. These are standard, you probably know what these do by now. I'll explain the bonus again in a little second, just in case you need the reminder. And for Charm, we go for the Challenger Charm 2. I'll be honest, I'm not convinced this is the best option, but it is a strong option, so play around with it. If you prefer something else, feel free. And in terms of weapon, technically on paper I think Arcane weapons are still king. It's going to be the most consistent output of damage, but I've been using the brand new Seregios weapon, and not only is it very viable and competitive, it also has a fun mechanic that meshes into the set and the way you play with the set. Basically what I'm saying is I recommend using this at least to try out once or twice, and that effect is blade scale honing. Narrowly evading a monster's attack while your weapon is drawn grants you special sharpness. You'll see this in the hunt itself, but effectively, when you dodge a monster's attack, you get a brand new sharpness bar that prevents your real sharpness bar from degrading. But you might be thinking, you know, we're longsword players, we don't dodge, we counter. Lucky for us, this effect procs every time we counter. If you foresight, if you eye slash, this effect activates. When you break this down, what it means is the more you counter, the less sharpness you're going to get through. And I've personally found my white sharpness, even though there's not much of it, tends to stick around longer than usual. So why do we use the 2-piece Seregios set? Well, this gives us the 2-slot special bonus called Razor's Edge 1. Effectively, it extends the duration of Adrenaline Rush, and if you trigger the effect again while Adrenaline Rush is already active, it extends the duration, which doesn't usually happen. And Adrenaline Rush, which we will have in level 5, temporarily increases your attack power after you execute a perfectly timed evade just as the monster attacks. Very similar to the weapon, this procs every time you counter. Effectively, if you counter a monster, you're going to get more sharpness and more damage, and by continuing to play well and continuing to counter, this attack plus bonus is going to continue throughout the hunt. It's super good, and it's a very rewarding playstyle. Effectively, if you know the weapon's ins and outs and you know a monster's timings to a T, you're just going to permanently have this attack bonus and free sharpness. And again, just to reiterate, I'm not trying to sell you snake oil. On paper, this set does just about lose out to the previous meta from TU1, but it's something new, it's fresh, it's different, and it's fun to play. And again, you probably already know what Gormagala's set is. I'll explain real quick. Because we have 2 pieces equipped, you will continuously be afflicted by Frenzy throughout the hunt. By dealing enough damage, you overcome the Frenzy, which gives you a buff in the form of Affinity and Attack. By using antivirus decorations, which you'll see in a second, this bonus then gets elevated even further. Effectively, all you need to know, it's free crit chance and a bit of extra damage. So I have all of the decorations on screen now, and you can see the full skill list on the right hand side there. Key things you need to slot in. First and foremost, you want to max out Adrenaline Rush. After all, this is what the Seregios set benefits from. So we use a level 3 Adrenaline Rush gem here, 1 in the waist and 1 in the legs. For our other 3-slot decoration, we put Burst in. Burst is a phenomenal skill, it always has been, it always will be. Every single meta build uses this, nothing's changed. So our set naturally comes with 2 levels of maximum might already equipped, so we only have to use one of the 2 slots for a mighty gem. in order to max that out. For our other slots, I'll be honest, you can kind of play around with it a bit. I'm personally running Counter-Strike. It ends up proccing quite often on the longsword and it gives you even further attack bonus. But completely up to you. If you want to run something more defensive along the lines of evasion, feel free. If you want to run destroy gems for part break to farm out materials, go for it. It's not a huge deal. Counter is likely the most beneficial skill though. And then for our level 1 slots, so I run 3 sheath duels level 1. This gives me the maximum quick sheath bonus. So this is where I say your charm is debatable what you should use. Quick sheath level 3 is needed as a longsword player, and being as we're using a build that relies on counters to keep our damage buff active, it's going to come in handy and it's going to allow you to be more consistent at hitting those counters. But likewise, you could always swap out your talisman for the quick sheath talisman, and then you don't have to worry about it. Only reason I don't recommend that is because you don't have a whole lot of other options for your 1 slots unless you want to just go full defensive and run defense duel or some kind of resistance. 2 of the 1 slots do have to be used for sane duels to get the maximum antivirus skill. Again, this just gives us bonus affinity when we overcome the frenzy in the hunt. Oh, and I should mention a weapon as well. You want to use critical duels to maximise your crit boost. It's the most broken skill in the game. It's objectively the best. Always run crit boost. I personally choose to use an expert duel just to give us a tiny bit of extra affinity. You may choose to throw a handicraft or something like that instead, but the weapon's inbuilt skill, blade scale honing, kind of negates the need for you to throw in that bit of extra sharpness, so I think extra affinity is a safe option. I mean, yeah, overall, a very strong build. We have tons of crit, we have tons of attack bonus that are going to continuously activate as we counter the monster. When it becomes enraged, we get further bonuses from Agitator. Our Gormagala set's going to proc to give us the further bonuses there. And we have that extra bit of damage squeezing out on top of that through Counter-Strike and Burst. Honestly, this is my favourite set that we have in Wild so far. The Lagiacrus set is also really cool and I plan on showing you guys that another time. But yeah, super happy with what we've been given and it makes me very hopeful for future additions to the game. That's enough yapping from me. Let's get into a hunt and you can see the build in action. Okay, for the background footage you're going to be seeing me fight a tempered 8-star Arkveld. The reason why I wanted to go into it against him is because we all know his HP pool, we all know the kind of damage we're looking to do and what quest times look like. Plus, as discussed, this build highly benefits from being able to counter the monster. Being as Arkveld is a very familiar monster to myself, I've fought it almost, well, probably hundreds of times by now. It allows me to demonstrate the build in action and how it works. So the 2 major things you're going to want to pay attention to in this run is keep an eye out for whenever I counter Arkveld. You'll see on the right hand side me get the damage buff for Adrenaline Rush. And once it activates once, on the next dodge you'll sometimes see it activating again, which is of course the Seregios set bonus, extending the duration of that buff, meaning more damage for more time. Also, what you'll pay attention to is every time I also land a counter, you'll see the blade scale honing skill, which is the Seregios weapon built skill, activating as well. If you look at my sharpness meter, whenever that activates, you'll see that a brand new kind of pattern UI overlays on top of the sharpness. What it means is when that appears is that I'm not using the weapon's natural sharpness. Instead, you're given a free gauge and you work through the sharpness of that instead. Effectively, you have free sharpness for a bunch of hits. And the cooldown between being able to get it to reactivate is quite short. The unfortunate natural downside of this is in a hunt like you're watching, it gets to a point where I'm not countering Arkveld that much because he spends most of the time on the ground. With the wound spam and stuff like that, I'm not giving him much of an opportunity to attack. He's flinched, staggered, stunned for a lot of the hunt. And that causes my attack buff to proc less often, and for my free sharpness meter to proc less often as well. Both those things mean less damage overall. Now when they are live, it's insane, it's really good. That's why I would personally recommend you to use this build against the harder new 8-star stuff like Seregios and Lagi. But yeah, if you're inconsistent at landing counters, the previous title update 1 build that uses the AT Ray Dow stuff, it's going to outperform this build every day of the week. It's probably going to be a variation of this set built around speedrunning, I can 100% see that. But yeah, either way, a very fun set. It doesn't alter the way you play the game, but it makes you pay attention to it more and it incentivizes you to play the longsword in a particular way. Of course, the caveat to that is you should be trying to counter everything on longsword in one way or the other, but you get the point. The Logi set's really cool as well. I think I will end up doing a build video on that, especially leading up to 80 Uthaduna. I believe it's going to be a natural counter. But yeah, I'm going to leave you with the rest of this Arcveld hunt. It ends up being pretty short, so feel free to stick around and watch. If you did make it this far, or if you learned something new, I'd greatly appreciate you to like the video and hit subscribe. More TU2 content is on the way. I'll see you soon. Thanks for watching.